Like there. I won't do like I did last week and not prepare. What I did last week is I didn't switch it all off.
Now, Andrew.
I've emailed Andrew. Got to do that. Otherwise, you get in trouble. All right, 3, 2, 1. We're unofficially on. This is 5 minutes before we go live because I always like to start a little bit early.
So this will catch all the people that are secret super fans that come on a bit earlier.
And today's show, we've got David Burrows. We're quite interested with that. We've got national. You're going to bet on the horses?
Oh yeah, right, national today.
Are you going to bet on the? I was there on Thursday.
I don't know.
I was there on Thursday. And what a disgrace! I'm going to tell you something now. They let 50,000 NHS workers go in.
Yeah.
And they all left about lunchtime because it was too expensive for them. Crazy backfire. But it's not really been in the press. I'm breaking that news now.
There's been a lot of that. It was there was one of the London councils, and I'll look it up, who did a concert to try it last year to try and get youngsters to have the jab. Mm-hmm. So the idea is you went to this free concert, and while you were there, you could have the jab. They worked out that there was only something like 200 kids who took it up, and it worked out every jab was cost the council like £450 odd because of what it cost them to put it on. So
typical. I'm going to share this into a few groups. If you're watching, please call in. You're obviously a super fan. 0203 846 8888. If anything, to check the phone's working. I know there's a couple of people watching. Please call in because really you make the show. Without you, there is no show. There's no point. No. It would just be me and Malcolm sitting here.
That's all right.
Talking about chewing the fat.
Chewing the fat. That's
it. So, what else? Before we go live, should we say bad stuff so people can think, oh, we got a little tip there?
Well, dish the dirt.
There's no dirt.
No, there's no dirt.
Good morning, Karina. Call in. We'd love to know what is on your mind. 0203 846 8888. We haven't officially gone live for another 3 minutes. I love being naughty like that. Sneaky. Got a really interesting show today. So we're just getting prepped. I'm sharing the groups. Serena, welcome. Please say hello. So we've got Nikki. Nikki's about to join us.
3 weeks to the local elections. 3 weeks.
So exciting.
Must vote. Go out and vote.
Nikki, what's going on? How are you?
Hi, Nikki.
She's getting it all together.
Just pressing those buttons. Yeah. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, Nikki.
Can you see me okay?
We can.
Okay.
Ready to go. Who's the gentleman behind you?
It's my husband who's making a quick exit.
Hello, husband.
Hello, husband.
I'm running out before the husband finds me.
I'm all up for husbands. I'm on the husband side. Nikki, how are you?
I'm all right.
First time of live broadcasting.
I know. Just let me close the door. Sorry, hold on 1 second.
Good morning, Lawrence. Lawrence, would you do me a favour? 0203 846 8888. Call in. I just want to make sure the phone line's working fine. Nikki, in 60 seconds, we're going to introduce you.
Oh, gosh. Okay. All right. It's nice to meet you, and I hope that all goes well. Yeah.
It will be fun.
I have to say, before COVID, I didn't even know what Zoom was.
Now it's such a big part of our lives.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it is something very few people did, was it? Like video conferencing. Now it's like almost the norm now. You know, doctors are doing it, and everyone's, you know, let's not meet, let's just Zoom. You know.
Yes. And although I'm not sure always that that's the best option, I think sometimes we still need to actually have the nuances of the face-to-face.
Yeah,
definitely agree on that. So it's exactly 10 o'clock. Oh, there we go. The phone's
go phone.
0208. Let me just answer this phone. Good morning, Loving Local Show. Is that Lawrence? Lawrence, you stay there. So good morning. If you're just tuning in live, it's 10 a.m. We're really good. If you've never tuned in before, you're in for a treat. This is a really interesting show we have today. We've got Lawrence on the call.
Morning, everyone.
We're going to get to introduce each other. My name's Gary. I am definitely purpose-driven. We've been doing this consistently for 5 years, and we could talk today about anything from wheelie bins and the rubbish to Ukraine, and I love that. Over to you.
I'm Malcolm. Still most original parts, but still going.
We got the lovely Lawrence on the phone because
Lawrence.
he's called in just to make sure the phone's ringing. Lawrence, you want to introduce yourself?
I haven't really got anything to say, really.
Well, just say hello.
Just say hello.
That's all you can do. Look.
I love the morning.
Oh, it is actually. Sun's out.
It's a beautiful morning. And our guest today is Nikki. Nikki, please introduce yourself.
So I'm Nikki. I'm a resident actually in Barnet. I have a very small charity where we were doing, up until COVID hit, we were running a summer camp in Ukraine, among other things. And with the Ukraine situation, I've got rather involved, speaking daily to various people in Ukraine and trying to bring people over with the Homes from Ukraine scheme.
And you've managed it with one person, but you're struggling with another. And I'd love you to share your story. Now,
So-
Lawrence, you don't have to stay on the phone, but you're very welcome to just tell us what you're going to do at the weekend or stick around.
I'm getting myself together. I'm going to have a quick shower. I'm going to pop out. I'm going to the cinema this morning. I'm going to see the new Harry Potter, not the Harry Potter film, but
Oh, Fantastic Beasts, yeah.
The new one out at the moment. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate you calling in. Have you got a question for Nikki before you go?
No, I just want to say what amazing work you're doing, and just keep doing what you're doing. You know, I know there's a lot of red tape getting people over in this country due to probably Brexit and other reasons, but it sounds amazing what you're doing.
Nikki's
And,
amazing.
everyone's
You
very
listen to the struggle she's having at the minute. It's going to be an interesting one. So, Nikki, thank you, Lawrence. You stay if you want. Otherwise, we'll speak to you in a bit.
Okay, have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Over back to you, Nikki. Tell us where everyone's at the edge of their seat. How do they get involved? What do they do? Do you want to talk us through?
Okay, so the government have set up this wonderful Homes for Ukraine scheme. I actually read this morning that just 1,200 Ukrainians have actually come into the United Kingdom under Homes for Ukraine so far, even though there are thousands upon thousands of applications. We, on a personal level, have one of those 1,200 people who have come in, and he is with me, he's with us, and is embracing life very differently in the UK to life in Ukraine, but at least in some safety and in security without having the air raids going off on a continuous basis. The mother of the 12-year-old daughter who I'm trying to bring over is desperate for her to come. She's really getting very upset every day. She's got air raid sirens waking them up continuously. And she actually said to me last week, you know, I read somewhere that the United Kingdom was the most bureaucratic place one could ever imagine. And she said, I laughed when I saw that years ago, but now I'm not laughing. And I think that really sums it up. How can the general public get involved? The general public have responded amazingly. Slightly worryingly, the government set up this scheme of Homes for Ukraine. If you know a Ukrainian, you can bring them over. But they didn't then actually work out how you were going to meet a Ukrainian. So it's basically Tinder on finding a Ukrainian sponsor, a UK sponsor for a Ukrainian.
It's in the news today that single men are applying to women. Women are putting themselves on Facebook groups saying that help me, and single men are replying. We talked about that earlier, and I don't want that to be the biggest discussion, because I want to assume that good people are tuning in and want to help. So we can do our due diligence here on the ground, more so than the UK government, all this legislation, crazy. Now, we're very lucky to be joined by the Liberal Democrat leader for Enfield, Rob. I'd love to hear his opinion on this.
Hi, Rob.
Maybe he can have some influence. So, Nikki, what else? How else can we help?
So what I'm trying to do in my local area is to also set up some kind of support group for people who are hosting or hoping to host a Ukrainian, and for the Ukrainians to have a meeting point to come together. I'm also looking at anyone who's interested in hosting. I'm happy to give ideas, tips, a little bit of guidance as to what life comparisons are, differences in cultures, in lifestyle between Ukraine and the United Kingdom. Because I think leaving it just as an open book makes it really hard for people. The British public are being great and saying, yes, come into our homes, but equally what's expected. And I mean, my young man who's over, his welcome letter from the Home Office, which was actually the visa application, was his entry letter into the UK. It says on it, as soon as you arrive, you need to register biometrically, go to, and literally the letter says, go to gov.uk. That's it, that's the link, okay, of how we're supposed to then get a biometric proper visa on his passport.
I watch the news religiously, and I was shocked to see a grown man cry. This man, he said that I've never said this in my life. I'm ashamed to be British, because he wanted to help. He couldn't. The Irish seem to have this just right. And do you not have a sibling of the person that you have already? You want to bring the sibling in because they're under 16.
So it's not the sibling. It's actually her mother is godmother to my young man who's here. Okay, so they know each other, they are very close to each other. And the idea was, when we made the application for both of them at the same time, literally as soon as Homes for Ukraine went live, was that she would be here with him and they would have comfort with each other. And they have grown up as siblings. That's probably why you're saying siblings.
We got Rob, who is a Liberal Democrat, is such a lovely man. You're standing in the local elections in May. I'd love to hear your opinion on this, Rob. Without putting you under a bus, just whatever.
No, honestly, look.
No pressure.
We've spent the last 20 years demonising immigrants, and this has caused the government a problem, because apparently now we've got nice immigrants. They're not really letting them in, and we are pretending to be nice. We are doing a lot of help in giving them weapons and all that sort of stuff. But the government really have tried to do it's an all an open door, and then you have a Kafka-esque nightmare of trying to get people in. They know there's, I think it's just caused them a real problem that now all of a sudden that people want immigration, which I think a lot of us still did, but that's a different story. But you spend 15 years demonizing and putting up walls, it's very hard to take it down all of a sudden.
Very true.
Yeah, I listened to a guy, he was on Talk Radio the other day, and he was a volunteer who goes out to Poland to help them, whatever. And he said one of the biggest problems is, apart from obviously the government bureaucracy, is that all these refugee sites which are processing the people as they come across the border, they're not being run by officials. They're all volunteers. There's nobody official. So everybody's just clambering on what to do, and they've got no official training. You know, there's no actual, apart from a couple of security guards that may be from the local police, it's no one from the country's government or anybody helping these people.
It's a huge. Look, I'm tempted to say, look at the numbers, but these are human beings. We've got 80,000 people who have applied, and 1,200 have successfully got in. So there's two schemes currently running. One's called Reset Communities, and the other one is Homes for Ukraine. So we hopefully...
Reset Community have set up as an offshoot of the Homes for Ukraine scheme. They have set it up as a charity who will work with the government to match sponsors with Ukrainian refugees seeking to come to the UK under Homes for Ukraine. It's not two separate things, it's one links to the other. The other thing I would just say though, in particular, Rob, you were saying about, one of you was saying about the issue of people at the border.
Yeah.
Not only that, but the UK government have outsourced the helpline, which is the information line for Homes for Ukraine. So when you phone the information support line for Homes for Ukraine, all that they can do is actually tell you exactly what you can find on the internet, because they're a private organisation, they don't have access to the Home Office system. So they can't actually tell you, well, yes, your application is in process, or yes, we can see that on the system, the application has been received. And I certainly tried to call the Home Office on a number of occasions. I phoned the number for the Levelling Up department and was told, why are you phoning this number? You need to phone Home for Ukraine. And I said, well, if you can give me a number of somebody I can speak to, then please do. He gave me a number of the Home Office. The Home Office number, there are 8 different ways that you can dial, different connotations that you can tap into. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. I pressed every single one, and every single one gives you the same automatic response, which is, we are very, thank you for your phone call. We have a high number of
Calls,
But
come
you
back
managed-
later.
coming in,
You
and we
managed
cannot
it.
give any updates.
You
Now-
managed it. You done it. You managed to get through and do something. That's.
Well, I didn't get through to anybody. I got through to the lady who just told me on the answer phone, we have too many calls, goodbye. Okay. Now, aside from anything else, if you're just going to put the same answer phone message on all options, why bother to have the options?
It's one of those things I think is really frustrating, is the fact that, you know, they should at least allow you to have a voicemail message. You know, sorry, we can understand there's only a resources, you know, there's only so many people can pick up a phone and answer the question at a time. But there's nothing worse than being on hold and hold and hold, and eventually they just say, sorry, we're too busy, come back, ring back later.
I'm not a cynical person, but we can manage to get weapons and bombs to Ukraine. The government don't have the appetite for this. They just don't want to do it. It just
There are no
I saw
votes
it
in
with
having
the
Eastern European accents on a bus in 5 years' time for the people that are voting Conservative and voted for them. They know their market. They know that they have to appear to be nice enough for now, but long term, they know where their votes come from, and there's no votes in this for them.
No. Now,
Well, you say that. I spent Liverpool and Manchester. I was up north this week, and the amount of Ukrainian flags everywhere, not just from individuals, but the support.
Yeah, they vote Labour up there, don't they, Gary?
Sorry?
They vote strong vote Labour voting areas there. You only have to fool 40% of the people once every 5 years.
You think that's political?
Well, look, I mean, at the end of the day, they've put up this massive front, as we've found. You know, they are seen to be doing something.
Yeah.
Now, you don't get anywhere. Ultimately, you go around in circles, as you say. If you want to put a shoulder anti-tank missile, well, that's on the first plane out. You want to get a kid in with a teddy bear, that's impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're setting these people up who are fleeing from terrible conflict, who are scared, who have seen that the British government are being supportive, that we are supporting with weapons, with various things, and we are supporting in trying to get them to the UK, but then they don't understand why nothing happens.
So-
And we're setting, you know, I mean, in the case of my 12-year-old that I'm trying to get over, she was told when she was leaving Kiev that they were fleeing Kiev because they were not going to then have the air raids going off, that she wasn't going to be in the air raid shelters. She got to the West and within a day of arriving was back in those air raid shelters, was back with those air raid sirens. And she now knows that Nikki and Jason, my husband, would be where she will be coming to. And yet again, we have failed by telling her that, yes,
I don't know if
yes,
any of
darling,
you-
we know you're not going to
Have any of you
have
been
a
to
nail.
Auschwitz? Have any of you been to Auschwitz? Have you been there?
Yes.
It changes you.
Yes,
And then you stand there and you think, this could never happen again. And we are
100%.
letting this happen again. Like the half truth. The BBC are brilliant broadcasters. They make sure that whatever they're saying is the truth. So I do believe what the BBC is saying, that a station was bombed yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I do believe that. That's a blatant, disgusting situation.
But again, this is down to what happens in war with propaganda. You know, the Russian people are being told that, you know, the east of Ukraine, that they're killing kids, they're, you know, destroying people's lives, all these pro-Russian people there who need salvation, need saving. You know, that's what Putin's message is coming across as, you know, and that's the excuse. He's not saying it's a war. He's saying he's saving these people in the east that are being oppressed and are being vandalized. I mean, that missile that hit that that train station, that had the message on there. This is for the kids.
I know, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
Well-
because it's so ridiculous. Look, what can we do? I'm very much, if you want to fix something, you talk about the solution
Yeah.
more so than the problem. Rob, have you got any ideas? You're about to dip your toe into politics. You're just a regular civilian like we are. Hopefully you are a counsellor, because I really believe in you as an individual.
Thank you.
That's why you've been asked to come on the show.
Might be
That's very
misplaced,
good,
but you
man.
never know.
Sorry?
You might be misplaced, Faith, but you never know.
No, I had this argument with someone yesterday. I thought Tony Blair was a good man going in. I thought he had
But
good intentions.
he would win again tomorrow.
I think you would, yes.
Yeah.
Have my vote.
Yeah, you look at what we've got now, and you just vote for the one that you least hate.
But that's how you agree with you. That's how politics is coming. That's how American. I mean, you look at the 2016 presidential elections. That was not who was the best president. It was who was the least repulsive.
Well, you look at our last two elections here.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, how do you solve a problem like Ukraine? I honestly don't know. I mean, look, we need to put our own house in order first of all.
Done a good job on cleaning up the Russian money. I think if we're to believe, I think that's
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see that Russia report from a couple of years ago about where the Russian money went. However, this is probably not a time for my petty little politics, but how do you solve this? First of all, we've got to get our own house in order. We have got too much of this, you know, people have mistaken feelings for facts in Russia. Fine. We do it plenty ourselves over here. We are a lot closer to where Russia is now than we actually would like to believe. You have to cut off the money, and for that, there's only one way to do it. You can mess around with the banks and all that sort of stuff. You have to stop giving them £1 billion a day for their energy, and that is
Yes.
it. And nothing else.
Unfortunately, though, most of Europe is still, you know, Germany's 40% of their gas is from Russia.
Yeah,
You know,
well, I mean, I don't like to be an historical narc. Of all countries, somebody who could turn down the thermostat for a couple of degrees because they know where it ends up could possibly pitch in right now.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I was saying this about just with the price of energy at the moment, you know, how you do something about the energy prices at the moment in the UK. Because you know, France didn't get any of this. They got a 4% rise in their energy bills.
Because
4%.
well, a lot of countries didn't. They have governments who are not. Look, they've got nationalised energy.
Yeah.
We've got nationalised energy. It's just other nations
Other
own
nations'
our
energy.
energy.
So we get, like you say, we can be as upset as all. It's not our vote they're worrying about, you know, but in their own country. But what I've said is, you know, not the suppliers of the actual, your British Gas, your Eons. If you start reducing the amount of energy you use, that's going to directly affect the amount of profits. That's going to affect these companies.
It probably won't.
And I think if you can reduce enough,
it doesn't. I mean, profit is the difference between cost of supply and the money you charge for it. It's still going to be like that. And if you've got spare gas at the moment, Germany will buy it off you in a heartbeat. The only way to get prices down is, you've got to nationalize this stuff, because that is how, or have some sort of nationalized price cap. We've got a price cap at the moment that just seems to be, sorry, double it and then double it again. If we think that this is not a massive knock-on effect to it, and because everything runs on energy, you still have a carbonized economy. Let's get ourselves out of that. But in the next 5 to 10 years, you've just, look, we had all this in 1974. And what everybody seems to forget is that we knocked down VAT, we put all sorts of controls on prices, we knocked down, we've done nothing this time. We've given you a 200 quid loan. Whoop-de-diddles. I mean,
and then taking it away on the other hand with a 5% with an increase in national insurance.
So we go.
And that's not just a 1.25 thing. It's a 1.2 point. It's very, very different. It's actually a 10% increase.
So we go back to where we started, the Ukraine situation. We really want to help. We can afford to help. Have we got an incompetent government, or is it just a department, or is there a specific person? They don't want to do it. They could do it overnight, just like that.
Look, if Ireland can do it, we can do it.
Nikki,
they're a lot smaller economy.
But Ireland have done it, have got the people over, and the UK are still dragging their feet on it.
Yeah.
And I think it says it all that Parliament are in recess. The Home Office desk that was in Portcullis House closed because Parliament were in recess. I believe it reopened, and I'm not sure if it's now closed again. Well, all of those things become additional stumbling blocks that are not really helping situations.
Nikki,
But I'd argue that that's exactly why they're shut.
Yeah.
This is not a coincidence.
Yeah,
This is
agree.
But here's the thing, right? So Nikki, in the Times today, it says, how do I check the progress on my application? The Home Office have given a private company that they haven't mentioned the task of running the Ukraine helpline, meaning they do not have the security clearance to access the database. The Home Office says it is in the process of writing all applications up. If you remember, we spent nearly £2 billion on an app that is useless.
That track and trace was a joke.
Okay, so I can come back and say to you that one of the calls that I had to the helpline, I had a really lovely guy that I spoke to, okay? He really wanted to help, but just had no information because he didn't have any at his fingertips. And I said to him very cynically, I said, can I ask you very honestly, how did you come to doing this job? I really appreciate that you've got people phoning and screaming at you and that's not your fault. And he said, no, he said, it's my way of helping and I'm pleased that I can do something for Ukraine. He said, this time last year, I was doing the phone calls for COVID travel. Okay. Now, within my household, we had been saying cynically, when they needed to do something with the test and trace people, now that had stopped. So that's exactly where it's gone. And that is exactly what's happened. And once again, being very cynical, the test and trace and the phoning for if you went overseas was very disparate last year and the year before. Some people got phone calls, some people didn't. Some people got a visit after you'd actually submitted that you'd done the test to release. Some people got nothing. So it doesn't really install a lot of confidence. And I know that that is what Robbie was saying, that it's not what they want. So therefore, they're not putting the emphasis into it. They're not putting the workforce and energy into it. But that doesn't help on a humanitarian level to actually do something to these poor people who are fleeing from absolute conflict. You know, in Kiev, they still have no electricity, they have no water. The bridges that were destroyed that give access across into the suburbs, into the villages, have been totally destroyed. They are trying to rebuild them, but Rome was not built in a day. They're not going to do it overnight. And in the meantime, they have no food. I know people who are saying they don't actually know how families are going to survive at the moment because they have no more supplies. They have no more food in the cellar. They have nothing left.
So I'm going to share my screen just for a moment here. This is Enfield's Council's Ukraine Crisis Help and Support page. And
Okay.
it just links on to, you can email someone there, homesforukraine@enfield.gov, Homes for Ukraine scheme. That's it. That's
Yep.
the help we've got. And you've already done that with
Yes.
not much success. So what do we do? What are the practical things that we do?
So that's what I want to say. So there's plenty of people in now who say, look, I've got a spare room, I've got a spare bedroom, you know, the kids have left or they're at uni or whatever now. But I'm worried about language barriers, subcultural, social, you know, what you've had the experience, you know, what would you say to these people, to, you know, to encourage them?
So for some of the families, some people coming over will have no English or will not have confidence to speak in English. A big thing in any country is actually having confidence to speak.
Yeah.
And understanding our dialect is very hard because from the age of 6, children are taught English in Ukraine.
Oh, didn't
Okay.
know that. There we go.
But of course, it's a different alphabet. It's different pronunciation.
Yeah.
And when you're taught by a Ukrainian speaker English, and then you're suddenly faced with a London Cockney accent, okay, they haven't got a clue what we're saying.
Well, just take America. Look at Americans, how they pronounce some of our words, you know, and
Right.
they're English speaking. So, you know, I
Have
can
you ever been
imagine
to
how
Birmingham?
horrible. Yeah.
I was going to say, I've been in Glasgow and not understood a
word,
word they said.
yeah.
And the same in Newcastle. So yes, there are real, you know, regional dialects. I think the people who are, a lot of the Ukrainians who will be coming over or wanting to be coming over, they want to have independence. They don't want to have everything just given to
A
them.
ton of jobs out there. There'll be.
They want to come and be able to work. They want to come, they want to help in the house.
Yes.
They want to have. I think what you need to be careful of is, have you really got the space? Because, I mean, certainly for us, we've got somebody who we knew. I'd already been out to Ukraine a number of times. I'd seen him, I've known him. He was one of my junior campers. He was one of my campers when I ran the summer camp. Okay. So it's very different when you actually know somebody to when it's a total stranger coming into your house.
Yeah.
Now, have you got the space in your bathroom?
Yeah.
Have a stranger's stop. Have you
I
got
think when there's a will, there's a way.
100%.
I think just get them here safely. And look, the stuff about creating a community, the Orthodox Church in the UK, I'm sure will help. I'm absolutely sure of it. So there's a guy called Tony Robbins, and he says, when you lack resource, you become resourceful. I think the biggest challenge here is getting those visas. So we need to try and get the visas as best as we can. So we've got David Burrows. So thank you so much for coming on.
What I want to do is, as we've been running over, Rob, so let's move on. Elections, 3 weeks' time.
Well, no, David just arrived. No, I don't think that's very fair. No, I don't think that's very fair. David, let's not talk about politics. Let's talk about human beings. Please, David, tell us your view on this.
Human beings and politics do sometimes exist in the same place. In fact, a lot. Anyway, yeah, I'm here just to pick up on the conversation. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Just been talking about Home for Refugees, are we?
Yes.
Yeah. So Nikki, just to pick up on what you were saying.
So I'm very heavily involved. I have one Ukrainian young boy who is living with me now. I'm trying to bring over a 12-year-old who is his godmother's daughter. So there is a familial link, and I know them very well.
Brilliant.
I've been talking about the constraints, the issues of people who know nobody,
Yeah, of course.
getting people who know nobody, and
Yeah.
the issues, the risks alongside that, and the delays that we have, and the difficulties in accessing and getting hold of anybody to actually give any sense of where we are, and making clear procedures as to what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's far from good enough. So I'm looking. I'm not here to talk nationally, but just locally about what we can do in Enfield to connect. Because with myself and Dan, we've just come connected in Facebook wise to.
You've done very well. We should say hello. I get well.
Oh,
Yeah, Diane, feel
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, absolutely. So just the I mean, there's lots of unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles, but just from a point of view of I've been trying to connect in obviously the different Facebook groups and other ways to match those that we don't no relationship, no familiar relationship, and so in the early process of myself, my sister actually is a lot further down, having gone through the process to a certain extent on the visa, and she's sadly going through the weeks for the family who are stuck in Ukraine. The weeks of just the mother got the visa through the process, but the children they haven't, and it's just an absolute nightmare. But from our point of view, we've just still very early on, and we got to the point where the single woman coming was okay, but would rather have come where there's a connection in. Now we've got people down the road, a Ukrainian family, and our church, Ukrainian family. There's some connections, but she'd have felt more comfortable if they'd been nearby, say in Enfield or Barnet, knowing that there's her and some friends, or those that she know could also be hosted. So for those who can offer space for a single person, and we want to encourage more, they can offer more than that space as well, but we want to try and create a connection and then a community of support in Enfield. So there's others doing this in lots of different ways, but that's where this idea of trying to get an Enfield Homes for Ukrainians group together to connect in and to try and almost create an offer of not just this is our room alone, but there's also these other rooms and host families, and try and work it through. Plus also hear from yourselves and others who are way further down the process of how we can overcome some of those barriers and also provide the necessary support in the long term in Enfield.
I think the idea and the principles I wholly support. I think one of the issues is that people across Ukraine are so dispersed at the moment that getting people from the same areas and always getting in touch with them is not particularly always going to be very easy. But certainly to have something where you're publicising that there are other Ukrainians coming into the area and being able to explain that and to say, I think that has a lot of value. The UK is a long way from Ukraine, and that is something that will come out for some. It's a bit too far.
Yeah.
They're a bit too nervous to come this far. For others, they feel that we're being so welcoming and we're offering everything to them, and that they want to embrace that and to take that on board.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And certainly they've got enough challenges and barriers, that there's no, we need to just, there's mainly, I think, the comfort of knowing there's others, maybe similar age or similar, not necessarily just the same town or region, but just that there's other fellow Ukrainians who
Yes.
are, that we want to offer. And so technically, are you in?
I'm happy to, so actually I'm in the borough of Barnet.
Okay.
So I'm a
Our
neighbour.
neighbour. Well, you're our neighbour.
I am a neighbour. And I have been in touch with Barnet Council, with various people particularly within the education and children's services teams.
Yeah.
And I'm looking and exploring at what we can do to have some kind of support base.
And Nikki's
some-
very concerned with safeguarding. I know that the the Times today on page 12, they're talking about single men offering women from Ukraine. I am concerned about that, but the biggest challenge is the 80,000 applications that we've only got 1,200 over. That's really the biggest challenge, I would have thought, David.
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, the better piece of news in terms of the national picture is that they've appointed a minister who knows what he's doing. He was, as I was very involved with him when he was appointed to deal with the Syrian resettlement program, Richard Harrington, and he's good at. I mean, it's late, but he's good at getting people together, not just the statutory, but the voluntary sector and moving things. But things need a big shake up in the Home Office to get to the point where we've just got 1,200 who've been able to effectively get here, and there's obviously thousands more in the system. And obviously, compared to other countries, that's very, very sad and shameful. But from a point of view of
people don't know the process. I mean, I'm certainly, I've been in touch with MPs who told me the wrong person to go to as the lead. And I think just overall, the processes are very unwieldy and very poorly navigatable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having a 50-page form and having to go through all these crazy questions, that all needs to be worked through. I mean, I think there's ways that, I mean, to be fair to the council, I'm not always fair to them, but to the Enfield Council, they've also have got a link in their website to provide support
We just showed it, yeah.
And safeguarding checks and other things like that. So that's
Well,
so we all need to work together.
Sorry.
The problem is though, is that, and to pick up on your point, Gary, is that there's serious risks as well presently, and some of the safeguarding checks are not necessarily in person or work through in a careful way. And so ideally, whilst there's a whole lot of goodwill out there, there also needs to be, I think, properly accredited NGOs providing a helpful filter and a process that enables the goodwill to be matched properly to avoid the. I mean, I've looked at Facebook and some. I really worry about some, not least young women particularly, who are say, "Please help," and you worry where that's all leading. And in some ways, the answer to that, obviously, the main answer to get the right process that's accredited and that's got an NGO filter, that the government should yes offer the sponsorship program, but that needs to come with proper checks and balances. But also the answer also is for good people who have with good intentions and lots of people in Enfield to be there available. So there's a good reservoir of support and help, and then the system, both statutory and voluntary, need to be knitted very well together to make it happen.
So on a practical level, if you're watching this, just to support the situation, if you know somebody that really, really wants to, they've got spare room, we have a WhatsApp group. You're welcome to come in that WhatsApp group. There's tons of stuff out there. I think if we put enough pressure on the government, they'll move themselves, pull their finger out. Andrew, you're just coming into this late. We will move on with the rest of the show. Lovely Rob has come on to tell us why we should vote for him. David, I promised you we wouldn't talk politics. And as soon as you came, we decided, I'm sorry for that. But well done, Nikki and David, for your efforts.
Can I just add one very quick thing? First of all, that I'm very happy to give any support to anyone who, if they contact you, Gary, that I'm very happy to then be put into contact
everybody in that WhatsApp
and give some support. And also, just when you're saying about the safeguarding, just where I was saying to you, Gary, before, that my safeguarding radar is going like this, very, 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 very concerningly. The safeguarding checks and all of the home checks are not being done before the refugee arrives.
Nikki, we live in we do live in a wonderful place. If you are thinking you're you're not very nice person, you think I'll get a Ukrainian, you will get caught. That I'm sure of. So I'm very confident of that there'll be follow-ups and people checking. It's such a small amount right now, so let's just get them visas.
Oh, I agree. We need to get them in. We need to get the visas granted and get them into the country.
Yeah,
And
there
the
is
other
quite a
thing
high
is-
risk from cruise missiles right now.
Can I make a suggestion before we do? I've listened intently to them. I didn't know, Nikki, what a wonderful insight into the bureaucracy that's going on, Nikki, and the fantastic efforts that you're doing. And David, good to see you again, and you, Rob. I'm looking forward to hearing Rob tell us why we should vote Lib Dem, because I'm thinking about it. So I need Rob to add to that. I just want to say one thing, if I may, Gary, quickly about Ukraine. You were talking about getting the visas accepted. I've got an alternative suggestion. Scrap them.
Yeah,
that's what the rest of Europe has done, because Ukrainians get free visas.
Scrap them. You heard Priti Patel say yesterday why we had visas. Quite simple. No longer in the EU. That's why we've got the visa system. Scrap them. Can you imagine some poor Ukrainian family being bombed and thinking, I'm going to go to the UK. Oh, but hang on a minute. While my house is being bombed and my street's being bombed and all my family are in danger, I've got to fill out. I'm going to get my computer out and fill out a 50-page form. I mean, really. So that's all I wanted to say, really, on that.
Scrap them. Andrew, sensible, common sense.
Thank you.
Nikki, I have to. You are welcome to stick around, and you, David. We do have a format to the show. Usually, the guest we only put maybe 15, 20 minutes, but this is important, and I think if we can be a mouthpiece for Enfield, Haringey, Barnet, say, look, we actually care, and we put some pressure behind that. So, Rob, the stage is yours, sir. We'll have a quick chat.
Okay.
Then I'll do the sport
David
after
and Nikki,
Rob.
you're welcome.
Okay, yeah. Who's doing the weather?
I'll do the sport last because it's the least important part of the show, Rob. Go on.
Go for it. Rob.
Oh, right. Is this my pitch?
So here we go.
Here we go, Rob.
We didn't expect that to go as long. If
sure.
you've been a traditional Labour voter and you're thinking, well, there's lots going on, and I'm not so sure about all the people leaving, because there's been lots of councillors that have left, and you think, well, what's
do you
going
know?
on now?
I mean, just talk about sort of 2 seconds saying this. We don't realise how much of a defection there's been.
Massive.
So when Labour first got the council, I think they had a majority of 28 or 29. They are now down to 11.
And one of their key people that was in charge of education is now over to the Liberal Democrats. So if you were a Labour voter, you think, oh, this is interesting. If you were a Tory voter, you think, look, I'm not very happy with what they're doing nationally. The Liberals are the middle ground that you go to. So you want to just tell us, Rob, why should we vote Liberal Democrat this May?
I'm not going to tell you that you should. You should vote how you believe. We should stop all of this silly, I don't want to vote for them, but I really don't want to vote for them, so I'll just vote this way. In life, you get what you pay for. If you go off and vote Conservative because you really don't like Labour, then you get the Conservatives, and vice versa. Look at our website, look at our manifesto. I think we've got a lot to offer. I think we, at the moment, you know what, in life, I'm not sure you get very far by being sensible and trying to talk to people. I'm sure as hell I haven't so far, but we've got this silly culture war that's going on. My ears don't fit. We've got this silly culture war that's going on at the moment, where everybody's mistaken feelings for facts and slogans for actually doing anything. This new intake of Conservatives are you look in life, I don't really care what you think as long as you do. They're just rattling out slogans. You try and debate them. And so, well, the problem with the Liberals, I don't believe anything. Well, I've just told you what I believe. What do you believe? Well, you've got no backbone. Oh, God, shut up.
I mean,
we need to start talking about what we believe in and what actually we will do, not what we won't do. We have a load of Conservatives at the moment who are more bothered about a traffic scheme and weekly bin collections than kids going hungry before they go to school. We've got a massive cost of living crisis coming up.
Yep.
And the one thing we're going on about, I nearly said something worse, is weekly bin collections at a time when we just can't afford them. They never say what they're actually going to cut to pay for them. What libraries, schools, children's care, And there's this nasty little thing, well, all the poor have got 50-inch TVs. So yeah, we have at the moment, and tomorrow, where they walk today, we walk tomorrow, because we are getting rid of the safety net, and all we go on about is the fact that our commute takes 10 minutes longer because of a traffic scheme. Yes, it's important. Yes, you need to sort it out, but they are going to have 30 days of walking on water, followed by 4 long years of realization that, because what they've done is they have unlocked the genie of shouting people's names in the middle of roads and telling them how bad they are. That's going to be their name in 2 years' time. And they are stupid to have gone, we have taken the standard of debate, flushed it down the toilet and flushed it again. There's no talking at the moment. You've got to talk about what you
Trump
actually
has
believe in.
something to do with that too. He was blatantly a liar, and I think it's filtered down the Trump era. It's filtered down to us. I really do believe.
No. It didn't. It all filtered out the same place. Probably Facebook. We have just decided.
Rob, let me defend Facebook. Facebook was there when it started to speak to your grandmother.
It's not Facebook's
in
fault.
Australia.
It's our fault. Our fault for believing it.
That's just the problem. It's the
it is
belief.
just enabled the moron. That's the problem.
It's you put something on Facebook and everybody just thinks that's a fact.
Yeah, look, if
That's
you want to
the
get
truth.
something on Facebook, what you do is you've got 2 stock photos. One is 2 NHS people doing that, and the other one is a veteran who is homeless. And you say, if you don't want people to buy cookies from Spain, it's like, we should be funding the NHS rather than buying Andalusian cookies. And everybody goes for it. And it's our own fault, and it's time we actually started thinking for ourselves and demanding that the people who represent them think for themselves as well.
Yeah.
But if you
Can I ask Rob
don't,
a
then
question?
please, sure, go for it.
Rob, listen, I met you before. You talk a very good game. You're very sensible. You don't put up with, I'll say it, bullshit on air. But we're talking now about specifics in Enfield, right?
Yeah.
And let me read you something from the Conservative bump that's been put through my letterbox. And I want you to try and counter it.
Okay,
Because-
I'll look at the right page.
Because I, as everybody who watches this show and others know, am fiercely defensive of White Web's green belt, and for it not to be damaged and destroyed. Now, this is what the Tories say in their leaflet that came through my door. If the Liberal Democrats win in White Webs, 3 Liberal Democrat councillors in Enfield, quote, will be powerless to stop Labour's plans,
This
unquote.
is the standard.
Now, please counter that for us, if you would.
Yeah, okay. Look, at the end of the day, this is the Conservatives. First past the post, great. First past the post. At the end of the day, we need to work together. If they are going to vote to save White Webs, well, we vote as well. What's the difference? The numbers still add up. Now, I don't know, look, do you trust the Conservatives? They are massively funded by property developers, and that's not me sending mud. That is a fact. The fact that they say we're powerless is absolutely rubbish. If there is a motion put forward at the moment, community first, vote with them, and they don't say, well, community first is powerless, we will vote for the best interests of our constituents. Sometimes that will be with Labour, sometimes that will be with the Conservatives.
Okay.
It's not powerless, it actually gives power to the constituents, not to have people who are told how to vote. They vote the same way across all of the wards, and it's just.
The question is how can voting for Lib Dem save White Webs? That's the question.
Well, how can voting for the Conservatives save?
I'll explain that in 2 seconds. If the Conservatives kick Labour out on May the 5th, they say they will completely take White Webs back to the drawing
They will only do that if they get the number of votes. If they have a motion to save White Webs, we will vote with them. It makes no difference if we are Conservative or Liberal Democrat.
Okay.
In that one instance.
Rob, we just got Sibel, we'd love you to call in and ask Rob this question yourself, but it says the Liberal Democrats can win in Enfield on scrapping LTNs and the bins. So the issue of scale of the sale of White Webs. Sibel, call in and ask Rob yourself. Rob, that's from a viewer who I love.
Okay, I mean, here's the thing for a start. We've been walking around White Webs since December. I know a lot of people have got a real big noise about LTNs, and yes, we would sort them out. It's not a big issue in White Webs. It has come up twice. It is the green belt and it is White Webs. the
So
weekly
if you
bins.
if somebody votes for Lib Dem and the Tories get into to the council and stop, what you will vote with the Tories to stop white webs.
See, look, we already do. Community first vote.
Yeah.
How they do. I mean, they don't reject our votes, but apparently now they do. It's just a nonsense. If the big thing that they have got is that they're not Labour, and Lib Dems, if you want to vote for them, well, they can't do anything.
What's your take on litter picking? Fly tipping.
Okay, right. There's a number of things why we've got a lot of fly tipping now. One of them, I think, is it is really hard to get into the recycling centre. We'd open up the long talked about second recycling centre, and we'd have something to do with the passes as well. At the moment, if you go to the recycling centre, you can only do a certain amount per month. Barrel green. So, like, basically, if you're replacing your bathroom, you want to use all those things straight away. You don't have to wait till next because they take your license plate and all that sort of stuff. So you've got to balance that out over the year. If you have people who can't dispose of their waste, then it's going to get flighted. If you want to catch people fly tipping, we've got enough mobile vans if you're driving in a cycle.
I just want to say something about Barrowell Green, just to prove now with the bureaucracy. Last year, I got a new mattress, and I thought I'd do the proper thing, not just dump it down the bottom of the road. I'll go to Barrowell Green, but it wouldn't fit in my car. So I got a friend to drive me there with his small van so we could do it. They wouldn't let me in because the van was not registered.
Exactly. So this is the thing. You've got to make the right thing to do, the easiest thing to do. If you put bureaucracy in the way, we keep coming back to this, then people will go off and do something else.
Time. There's 8 minutes left. Now, Rob, you can come back to this show anytime you like.
No, I want him to, because I want to hear about Lib Dem's plans for affordable housing, which is
We'll do affordable housing. But Rob,
it's in here. But what do we want to do? I can do affordable housing if you want.
Well, I'll tell you what we do.
I can do the sport in 2 minutes, so
Actually, do the sport. That's more important.
Do the sport, and then Rob, just tell people if they do got any other questions, how they can contact you, how they can find out more information.
What ward are you standing in?
White Webs.
Yeah. Was that strategic, or that you live there?
I live next to it. It's strategic. We think we can win. I'm not going to dress it up as anything else.
You know what? That's fair enough. Everyone's got their ideas. So we've got 7 minutes left. I usually am quite strict with when we finish. Now, Rob, you or any of your councillors can come on this show until the election. The same is for Labour. The same is for the Tories
and the Greens
and the Independents and everyone else can come on here, and it's a pretty lively debate. And Rob, your good nature, you just say what you think, and I think that's never change, sir. When you win,
it's probably best to keep it short. I'm on a winner. I'll shut up there. Let's do this.
You're definitely, the polls are saying you're doing well. So there's 7 minutes left of the show. We're gonna do the sport, and then what we're doing.
Chantel, and then we end.
There you go. All right, Andrew, over to you. Sport.
I'm gonna try and put this all into 2.5, 3 minutes max. So. And normally, Rob, I would take much longer, but you guys have been so fascinating that Gary's right. We've got to do this quickly. So listen, I always start, by the way, Rob and Nikki, with the local football team, Enfield Town. Yeah. And this is critical today because one more win, I repeat, one more win mathematically puts Enfield Town into the playoffs. They're already there effectively, but now we're jostling for position in those playoffs. If that win is today away at Brightlingsea Regent, Enfield Town will officially be in the playoffs. If not, Cray Wanderers next Friday, Good Friday, not Saturday. Cray Wanderers at home next Friday could be a real celebratory occasion. So I urge anyone watching this.
So, quick thing, Andrew. So, with your vast knowledge, strategically, where is it better for Enfield to be? I mean,
very good question.
Because we're not going to. I mean, I think we're fairly safe. We're not going to win, are we?
No, not going to win the league.
We're not going to win the league.
I'm looking at the time. Worthing have got the league sewn up. Strategically, second
is better
because then you play the team in fifth.
Yeah.
Okay. If you finish third, you play the team in fourth. That's how it works.
So Liverpool, Man City. Have you got a?
Right. Here we go. This is the next thing on the list. Big game. They're talking about, aren't they, a title decider tomorrow, Manchester City against Liverpool. I'm not sure it will be because there are 7 games left after that. But my goodness, it's massive. And I think it'll have one of the biggest television audiences of the season. So Man City against Liverpool tomorrow. Tiger Woods, how did he do it? Getting into the Masters and playing. And he made the cut. He's still in the competition, would you believe? He's not going to win it, but boy, good on him to, with his creaking bones in his back and his leg, to have got in to even start the tournament. So I think the Masters is going to be a fascinating finale. And of course, Gary, you mentioned at the outset, the Grand National. We all, those of us who never bet, put a flutter, don't we, on the Grand National, as I will today. So I'm going to have a look at the runners and riders at the end. But yeah, I think it's 5:15. The Grand National just before Aston Villa against.
I just want to slip in some breaking news. It's not quite breaking news, but the national newspapers didn't pick up on it. I went to Aintree on its first day. They called it the NHS Day. They gave 50,000 free tickets to nurses, doctors, porters. They came, they were dressed up, they were wonderful, and they all left because it was too expensive. For fish and chips, for a beer, for a cocktail, it was way too expensive. So they just all left. And they were pretty disappointed. It hasn't made the national news, but I tell you, that is a story.
It is a story.
That is a story.
And Rob's just put on the chat line, and David, I don't know if he's not.
Yeah, I saw that. There's a Burrow Saint.
There is a horse called Burrow Saint, and all my Southampton supporting in-laws will be backing that horse as well as David Burrows. But for the sermon,
you have a little semi-sports story. Obviously, Boris Becker could be practicing his backhand behind bars.
Yeah, let's not go there, eh? By the way, Malcolm, did you hear that Pink Floyd are reforming?
Yeah, no,
it's not an April Fool.
No, they have already released a single. I was going to talk about that. They've released a new single. Oh, well, 2 of the 3 have. So 2 of the 3 come back. Mr. Waters decided not to participate.
Yes, he did.
They've released a new single to. I
could call him a nasty name, but I normally reserve that name for
people
like,
Priti
Patel, so I won't use it for.
First new material for 28 years. The single called "Hey Hey Rise Up." All money's going to Ukraine, so to help them. Stream it on Spotify, download it from Apple. It is a great song, great guitar riff from Gilmore. Absolutely great idea.
Fantastic.
How's Harry, by the way? This is a question.
More important than anything.
People ask me how Harry is.
So Harry's good. His eyesight's getting better and better. He still has a little bit of fluid behind his eyes, but it's getting better. But because of everything else we're going on for the NHS, we haven't had a result back of the biopsy yet.
Right. Okay.
So we're still waiting on that.
So, Nikki, one of my favourite parts of this show is what are we doing at the weekend? It inspires others to think, well, I might do that too. There's not long left. We might go over 5 minutes, I guess. And then we've still got show and tell. So our guest, Nikki, what are you doing at the weekend?
I am going to finish doing this, go and pick up my young Ukrainian who has gone to a basketball session because he is 1.893 centimeters tall. So, sorry, not 1.93, 193 centimeters tall.
Whoa, that's
so he is, he's pretty set up to be basketball playing. And we are then going out to eat later on with friends, which will be very nice. And then I'm back on to more Ukraine things and a little bit from my other charity hat, which is Noah's Ark Children's Hospital.
Oh, you're involved with Noah's Ark as well. Good for you. Yeah. And well, I know. Well, we'll have a chat about that another time. I'll get your details.
Please come back
because I know Kathy very well.
Okay.
Please come back to the show. Give us some updates if you would. I would love to have you on. You speak very well, and you're such a lovely person too.
Thank you so much for contacting me.
Rob, what are you doing?
I'm doing the same as every day. I'm going out, walking around the streets of Whitewebs, coming back, feeding the kids, getting them to bed, hoping to watch an episode of Married in First Sight Australia, then sleep.
My wife is mad over that. Just watched. She's almost. I think she just finished season 9. So
Right, I'm halfway
37.
through that. So
yeah, she's at 37. She's crazy over that.
Let me give you a gift. It's not what you say, it's how you make people feel. This is Sibel. She's put, and this is a Labour. She's been always a Labour voter, as far as I know. Vote for someone who wants to solve the problems of the borough. Vote Liberal Democrats.
She's got a really
can
good
you find me another 2,000? Then we'd be great.
She does have a really good point. As ever.
I'm sitting on the fence here. I haven't made up my mind, so I don't know.
Quick Chantel, because we're running out of time.
Well, we're still here from Andrew.
Oh,
very quickly then, Mal. I'm going a bit of dog walking today. My brother-in-law is coming up because we're all going to the Black Barn tonight to see a Motown show, which should be pretty good. I shall watch the Grand National before then and Tottenham Hotspur before then. And tomorrow morning is, guess what? 3 years celebration of litter picking. So we're doing litter picking in the morning, and we're going to the Rose and Crown for a coffee afterwards. So there you go.
Love that. So for me, I would like to watch the Grand National. I put Flutter. I never bet, but I think I'm going to go and do that. My wife has got a list of DIY. She said, Gary, I've got this list of things to do. So I'll be doing that, and maybe a bit of gardening. I'm going to go outside and do some weeding.
Yeah, I might go. That's what I think I'll be doing today, because my back has improved from COVID. So I think I will be going out in the garden.
Show and tell, and then acknowledge everyone that's watched today. Thank you for acknowledging you, to ringing in or possibly making a comment. We can make a difference in Ukraine. Don't watch this and think, oh, I'm a single man, I'm not going to offer, or don't watch it and think, oh, there's so many people I'll never get. If we all think like that, the Libs will never get in. Actually make a difference. It just takes just one. And then everything else goes in. So I'm forever an optimist. Show and tell, and then we'll
show and tell. So we're going to carry on with the history of Pink Floyd. So we're up to album number 7.
I tell you what, this is becoming sort of as repetitive as Boris.
I know. So
coming on today.
No, Boris is next. Will come on either next week or the week after. Yeah.
Okay.
Rob, have you heard Boris?
Have you heard Boris? We'll give Boris can go in. So yeah. So this is album number 7.
I shall come on next week or the week after.
Or the week after.
I shall bore you all rigid, just as I always do.
Called Obscured by Clouds, or it was a film soundtrack. So this was their 4th film soundtrack from a film called Le Valet, a French film. And want to take a guess what the picture is again? As you know, Floyd loves to put
a bit psychedelic.
No, it's actually an out of focus picture of a man in a tree.
I've never seen that album before. Goodness.
Yes. So this is June. This is a number 7. So this was their 7th studio album.
Malcolm, you need to know. Sorry, it's just into my head. The next Black Barn next month in May is a Floyd tribute band.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll be going.
Sorry, needed to say that.
That's okay. So I hope you've enjoyed this, Nikki. Rob, please come back.
It's been really wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nikki, you're an absolute superstar. I have to say that.
Agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. We need more people like you.
Yeah.
On behalf of everyone in Ukraine, just thank you to all the people in the UK, because I know that by telling them what people have said, they are blown away by the support, by the good wishes, and the ways that we are doing those little things to support. And it really has meant a lot. I have just been told that, just remind everybody that the soldiers really feel the prayers, because they don't know where they've been getting their strength from, and they're positive it's coming from a lot of the positive vibes.
Well,
So
I think that sums it up, doesn't it? I think Putin did not realize the amount of support Ukraine was going to get, and it has knocked him for 6.
I mean, I can tell you he's winning Eurovision this year.
We end on laughter. Rob, you or your councillors, your fellow councillors, are very welcome. The next 4 weeks we will be talking politics, and we are independent here. We've not given you a hard time, but we've asked you direct questions, Rob.
Yeah, but he needs another platform. Next time.
More. We need to give Rob more time. Everyone have a lovely weekend.